Hello, and welcome to our first episode of Be Well, Be Whole. My name is Lartey Little, and just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a Georgia girl. I grew up in Georgia, and I also, as well, grew up in my grandparents' garden. And I'm a church girl. I've always been interested in how things grow, and I've always been interested in faith. And so during the course of my education, I thought that I would be a medical doctor. Well, that changed a little bit as I went through school, but I did end up in the chemistry field. I worked in two relatively large industrial chemistry companies in the Atlanta area for almost 20 years. But eventually, I began to work more and more with people rather than just simply in a laboratory. And I began training people in the lab and training people to use particular products. And then eventually I began to make my own products. I started a skincare company of organic skincare line and made those products, formulated them, um, and put them in a couple of retail stores. But eventually I got to a point where I felt the nudge to explore life in a different way. Um, that is religion. So I ended up at Candler School of Theology. I left the corporate world and began to examine issues around religion and health, and um, eventually ended up working on my PhD in spiritual care and pastoral theology with a particular interest in salvation and in holistic salvation. And that's when I met Dr. Lartey, actually when I got to Candler.
Yes, and I am Emmanuel Lartey, and delighted to be on this first episode of Be Well, Be Whole. I come from Ghana in West Africa. I was born and went to school uh, uh, through first degree, which happened to be in psychology and math. So I also have a science uh, background and science orientation to life. My father was a civil engineer and was determined that some of us, his children, would be uh, science oriented, and so that's what I did. I happened to share his name. I was named for him, and well, along that path, I also discovered a deep yearning within for something more than what science seemed to offer. And so found my way into church and into seminary, and then continued studying. I studied in England, doing graduate work in religion and health. So I did my PhD in religion and mental health, and my principal advisor was a person who was a medical doctor and an Episcopalian clergy person. And so I worked in the fields of religion and health. And I have, I have had that interest and desire and concern to integrate, to bring these two kind of together. So currently, after teaching for a bit in Birmingham, England, I'm currently teaching at Candler School of Theology and at Emory University in the Graduate Division of Religion, which is where Lartey and I met and discovered this common interest, this mutual interest in exploring the interconnectedness of spirituality and well-being, spirituality and health.
And so now we are here with Be Well, Be Whole. And this we came to do this, I don't know if we're going to call it a podcast or broadcast, videocast, we don't know. But over the summer, we did a series of meditations and reflections where we talked about physical health, mental health, and spiritual health.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversations we found were very fruitful. And we wanted to kind of maintain or keep these conversations going because these are important.
Mm-hmm.
Our interests, our common interests, rest in this notion that faith is not divorced from science, and it's certainly not divorced from health. The two belong together.
Very much so, and I think that the webinars, the meditations, the teaching sessions that we began doing over the summer were partly inspired by the environment of stress and anxiety caused by the coronavirus, COVID-19, and all that kind of exposed, and our vulnerability as persons across the globe in the face of this particular virus. Against the backdrop of the structural racial injustice,
right,
which also served to kind of heighten our awareness of our need for wholeness, our need for wellness, and our bringing together of all the resources that we have to address this reality of illness caused by this invisible virus.
Right.
And the importance of listening to the science, as well as listening to the faith.
Yes.
Having these kind of like talk to each other seriously, because I think we both realized that listening to particular forms of faith were kind of flying in the face,
right,
of science, right? And also listening to particular strands of science seemed to fly in the face of faith. And so I think that as we talked together, we saw that there are important ways of seeking life by dialoguing, across these two fields. And I think that certainly for me is a huge inspiration for what we are, the continued conversations that we are having in this Be Well, Be Whole, or what we hope to have in these Be Well, Be Whole series.
Right. So a couple of things though that you said. Um, so we've already been doing the work
Yeah.
of religion and health, faith and health, religion and science. So this present environment that we're in just um, brought clarity to the importance of this work that
Right.
we've already been doing. And the second thing is all faith is not, or all religion is not good religion,
Mm-hmm.
and all science is not good science. So that's one of the inspirations for this. And also I want to add, this is not, as much as it is educational,
Mm-hmm.
it's also inspirational.
Yes.
So these will be what we're calling spiritual inspirations. So it's not all going to be, we're going to teach a particular concept. So this platform will be inspirational. We
Mm-hmm.
will bring in probably some current events. Eventually, we may even, ask friends to join us in conversations here. And also these will not be very long.
Mm-hmm.
These will be in short, bite-sized moments um, that you can come back to, that the audience can come back to whenever whenever they need just a few minutes to breathe.
I think that is so important. Also, because both of us are in the clergy business, if you like. I was I was ordained in the Methodist Church in the year 19. So I often clear my throat at that point because
Right, right.
yeah, I was ordained in 1981. So I have actually been in the next year I would have been in ministry for 40 years. So so
I
yeah,
was 6 years old when you were ordained, Dr.
right, right, right. So I've been in ministry, and I've been in ministry in Ghana. I've been in ministry in the UK. In fact, in the UK at the University of Birmingham, I was what was called a designated or a recognized chaplain. So I
Mm-hmm.
was, in addition to being a lecturer, as they are called, there as professors are typically called, there I was in the teaching field, but also in the chaplaincy. So I was working on spiritual matters with young, mostly undergraduates, but graduates as well,
Yeah,
with students. And here in Georgia, I have oversight of a church that is largely Ghanaian immigrants. Um, we just moved to a property in Loganville,
mm,
Georgia. So, in addition to teaching, I've done this all my professional life,
yeah,
teaching in seminary or in university, and pastoring.
yeah,
And I continue to do that. So spirituality and pedagogy, education, and life, right? These are very, very they interpenetrate,
yeah,
and I think that that's part of what we are hoping these sessions will help us in the interpenetration of life and spirituality. So we certainly hope that these will be spiritually inspiring
Right.
sessions for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. Food for thought.
Mm.
Um, maybe a midweek inspiration. We're not quite sure when these will be posted, but they will be these conversations will be posted on all platforms. um, and we hope that people will join in and will join in the conversation, um, and be blessed,
Mm.
um, by what will come out of what we have to share. Yeah, we hope that people will be blessed and will have um, a little bit more fuel to their fire. Yeah, and um, wherever they need it, and this is for life. Um, yeah.
At the center of our beings in African thought,
Hmm.
both ancient African and contemporary African thought, which lies, that kind of inspires my own journey. At the center of our lives is our spirit. Spirit is the animating force. So whether we're doing science, whether we are eating, whether we are drinking, whether we are farming, whatever we are doing is inspired by spirit. It's spirit that gives us life. Not so much soul. Often in our thinking, we think of soul as that which gives, but in African life and thought, it is spirit, and that connects us with the divine, with God, but not in a way that divorces us from life.
Right.
So our connection with the divine and our connection with ourselves and with life,
Yes.
this is all spirit inspired. And so that's part of what we want these sessions to be. We want them to be spirit inspired. And so these are spiritual inspirations
Hmm.
for life.
And always, as you were talking, um, we always want to acknowledge and give honor to that which cannot be named,
Yeah.
that which cannot be described, um, with mere words. And we both agree that this work is deeply inspired by our ancestors.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yeah.
Indeed.
So I think that's the end of this first episode. Again, we hope that people will join us
Very much so.
and be well and be whole.
Goodbye.